you're just an open ear, right? And I think I like that thinking. I would say so much of the folks that that came into those meetups were had an expectation that I will figure this out and I'll have this nailed. And I would say to that, like, you're more lost than you are found. Like then you'll figure it out if you're thinking that way. Coming to an expectation of things is like, you have no idea what's going to be on the other side. Like, even if you do know, there's a chance that it doesn't go your way at all. You just don't know, and you kind of have to give up to that, right?
This is Way of the Artist with Brandon Colby Cook and Evan Schulte. Identifying your blocks and demystifying your struggles so that you can claim your own path and make your life a work of art.
Welcome, everybody, to Way of the Artist podcast. We've got a terrific guest lined up, someone who I have known for I don't even know how long, like probably close to 3 decades. Not that we knew each other well for all of those decades, but you've been in my world for close to 3 decades, Shane. Just a little bit about our guest today, Shane Johnston. He is the unicorn of Bitcoin. This man was like mining Bitcoin and learning that stuff before it was even fashionable to do so. He knows all about that world of cryptocurrency and trading. He's also done a lot of work in as a DJ. He's got a love for dance and electronic music, and he's also one of the few people in the world who, when you hear someone and they say, it's like, you know what, I just want to like put everything I own and have everything that I own that fits in a van and just drive and like drive all over the place and like not have to like pay a mortgage and all that shit. Well, Shane's a guy who's actually doing it right now as we speak. So we've got a lot of things to talk about. I think that about creativity and choosing the path less followed. Welcome to the show, Shane. It seems like it's a long time coming.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. It's pretty awesome to be here.
I love the analogy. Of you decide, hey, I'm going to build a van. I'm going to take it. I'm going to travel across, all of Canada and wherever else you're going to end up going. And just the creativity required to figure out how to do that and solve problems as you went from place to place so far. And even just to be on this call, the creativity to figure it out. I know you're in a shed in the middle somewhere, and it's like, it's just, there's a kind of where there's a will, there's a way. And it's very inspiring, man. I just want to say that, thanks for figuring out a way to actually be on the conversation in the middle of this journey.
Yeah, man, this is pretty cool. Doing the shed interview was really on the top of my mind as I went to PEI, but you will see me disappear on and off the camera because I do have to stoke the fire, literally, in here.
See, that's even better. That's even better. Because we're in the middle. We're entering winter.
Yeah, and you're in Prince Edward. You're in PEI, which is like, that gets pretty cold.
So
we got to -5 the other day, but yeah.
Oh yeah. And it's just the beginning. So yep. What was so let's start here, man, because we wanted to talk about some of the things we want to talk about are beginnings, where all this stuff begins. And I think just the way you're living life it's a metaphor for a lot of us, as artists. We have these big ambitions, these ideas, these things we want to do. And it's like, can I do that? And where did it start? How did this start for you? Because when I started hearing about it, you were saying, I'm getting this truck. I'm going to build my own home on it, and we're going to go travel across, wherever we're going to go. And where did that idea come from, and when did it actually start materializing?
Well, I'd say Vanessa and I did want to travel somewhere, and I think we were beginning to get tired out from the city life. So I think it was just one day we were just curious and wanted to see what a Airstream would look like. Vanessa had an obsession with those aluminum like rounded Airstreams, like the Bambi. It was a really small, cute one, and it was a New Year's / Christmas holiday where we went down to the States and we checked out this place in Joshua Tree Park in California, and they had this wild little setup with like 7 or 8 different trailers on this little compound, a raised hot tub, and like a pool and whatnot. And we just said, damn, this is kind of cool. Let's take a gander. So
that was the initial moment. Like that was the moment where you're like, this is cool. I want to do that.
Yeah. It showed us that was very possible. Like
right.
Very
so you experienced that it was possible, and you're like, if that's possible, we could figure out how to put this together. We could do it.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And then it came from there, your imagination starts running a little bit, and then we started seeing what an Airstream would cost us, what an RV would cost us, and this and that, right? And
so that became research, like looking into
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
How long ago was that? Because now, like, you're currently, like, you're deep into it. Like, when did you leave? Let's start with that question. When did you actually physically leave in the vehicle?
Well, I think it was a 2-part thing with the truck, because we ended up moving into the truck March 1st.
And that's
still not done yet.
And then 2 weeks later,
yeah. March 1st. It's November now, so just to give people perspective.
Yeah, March 1st. We were comfortable with the build by May 28th, and that's when we took off and finally hit the road.
Okay, so March, April, May was kind of like the beta phase. It was like, let's live in this thing.
Yeah.
Let's just see if that works, and that did. And then May, it's like, let's start going somewhere with it. We figured out the kinks. Let's start getting on the road.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so now here's my next question. And I just want to get clear about this because I think it's really important for people to understand the process of how this actually happened. So March is when you moved into the thing. When was Joshua Tree conceptual moment? Like, when did that happen? Like, was that December before, or like that November before, or New Year's before? Or was it
I think that was the year before. That was the year before.
So like a whole year. Like this was the conceptual stage happened like a few months before, or like a whole year and a few months?
Not that Christmas, but the previous Christmas.
Okay, so a whole year and a bit was just in the, could we do this? See, that's really important, man, because I want people to pay attention to that. You have an idea, and it was a year and a bit before it actually physically became something, because like, I think sometimes we have these ideas, these things we want to do, and we're like, I want to do it tomorrow. And it's like, you didn't just go to Joshua Tree and the next day. Sometimes things, they kind of grow, then they blossom.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much bang on how that works. Yeah.
Cool.
I want to ask, like, because that's a hell of a thing to do. Like I've known you for a long time. And so in many ways, like it doesn't really surprise me because you've always been a person who I've admired for truly kind of marching to the beat of your own drum. But I mean, still, like you're a person who has, lived sort of like, fulfilled kind of the obligations of what we would expect, in society, like having a job and paying for an apartment, keeping a roof over your head, all of these things. And to go from that and to truly make that decision that's like, hey, we're going to go and do this thing that is not super common. I mean, it's becoming more common, but it's still like most people are not, living the kind of life that you're living right now, and I had imagined that came with a few sort of mental hurdles for you to overcome.
Yeah.
What were they?
Yeah. I would say like, I think the big one obviously was downsizing, like coming from a 2-bedroom apartment, that my girlfriend and I shared the rent on. It was okay. It was good. And then, to maybe a 70 square foot space? No, like a 30 square foot space, like trailer, basically, and squeezing ourselves into that, but also going through your stuff and like realizing I don't need this on the road. I don't need that on the road. I don't need, I don't need something fancy, but I also need some things that are tough, that are versatile, that we'll use mostly anywhere in any situation. Right? It was a lot. There was a lot to let go. There's a lot to purge, in a sense.
And what has the experience been like living without a lot of these things that that you used to have, just on hand all the time? Like, do you miss these things, or do you find that like you don't really think about them? Like, what's that been like?
Yeah, a lot of things have just kind of I don't have a thought in my head anymore. I mean, there's a few things to put in storage, but the amount of stuff that is just stuff. It's just things that just come and go. You realize that that was there for a while, but you're moving on. You're going to that part of your life. You're like, actually, no, I'm okay with not having that in my head anymore. I'm like, nothing fazed me about like letting all this stuff go. So, except maybe for the vacuum cleaner. Like I fixed that one myself.
Shane, I went through a period in my life where I had a lot of stuff, and I went through kind of hard time in my life. I shared it a lot on the podcast, but I went through a transition in my life where I was going to let go a lot of this stuff and move. And I thought, there's a quote from my favorite movie, Fight Club, which is the stuff you own ends up owning you. And when I was giving stuff away, I had like this beautiful couch, like this like plush, like queen size mattress and a bed frame and all this stuff. And I just gave it away. And I was like, you know what? I don't even want it. Take it. It was like that detached. It was like, I don't even care about getting anything back for this. And I found that it was extremely freeing for me to like let that stuff go. And I realized that like by letting go of stuff that didn't matter as much as maybe I thought it did before I had let it go, actually freed me to value things that I just think it transformed me as a person. And, I got a new couch, I got a new bed, these things came back, but they didn't matter. Those things come and go, and you almost like, it's just like I changed, and then the new thing came in, which matched more where I was at. And it's not like I got more stuff. It's just like I brought back in what I actually cared about, and I left out everything I didn't. Are you finding that?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, I still have my CDJs, my DJ equipment and stuff like in storage and whatnot. But yeah, there are some new things that have coming into our lives, like little things, nothing massive, nothing major, but we can't cram too much into the truck, right? So it's gotta work or not. I mean, as Vanessa's mom puts it, everything in your kitchen should be able to do like 3 things, except for that tofu press that she gave us that only presses tofu.
Little luxuries.
But
well, that's kind of an interesting thing, right? That's like it's something that does one thing is like kind of a luxury in that situation, whereas like something that does 3 things is actually really practical and useful.
Yeah. No, I can't say I'm really attached to anything really anymore. I mean, a 2-bedroom apartment. I had 2 cars and that truck, and then we let everything go down to just the truck. I mean, it was the last week where I just sold the car to a friend for like $200. Just like take it off my hands. Go. I don't care what happens to it. Just, let it dissolve. Let it go away.
I'm interested, like, because you obviously experienced a lot of detachment. Like I personally believe that detachment is a phase of maturity for a human being. And I don't think that all people reach it in their lifetime. But I know that I did. And when I did, I was transformed. And it was super hard to do. Like I was attached to a fork, like ridiculous. Someone came into my place, just to give you a little story, and I had like a 12-place like dining set. And they're like, how many people could you have at your place? And I was like, 6, maybe 8. They were like, that's it. You can't have any more than that. You can't have any more pieces than 6 or 8. It's like, after that, it's like, you're just a hoarder. And so I started just looking at things as like, why am I keeping this? It's like, it is valuable, but not to me. You know what I mean? So what I'm interested in is, how did you get to the place where you could let all that go? Like, how did that happen for you?
I would say like practically, you're not gonna fit all this stuff in a truck, but like I already felt weighed down with all this stuff. Like I knew how to do a lot of things, and hence there was just a lot of stuff I had, and so I realized, as we were going forward this truck and building the truck too, there's things I needed, things that did need to come with us. But if it wasn't helping us with like the goal of the truck, trying to get into this thing and get on the road, I quickly realized that it was just dead weight. It wasn't serving us as we wanted to like move forward, start something new.
So it kind of sounds like the goal, in a way, like I want to do this thing, helped you figure out what mattered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
I want to say too, like, I imagine it's been a different experience because there's the experience of having to downsize and get rid of the things you have. But then there's the fact that now you live in this much smaller space and you literally don't have like room really to bring new things into it. And I find that interesting because it's like, do you find that you think less about stuff in general, like buying things or you know what I mean? Like, like sort of a sense of materialism kind of dissolving to an extent, because like you literally can't just bring things. And so like, what do you find that your mind has like different things that you're thinking about, different things that you're working towards?
I mean, how do I describe that? That's an interesting question. I am like letting go. I am always aware that, that I don't need I don't need all the stuff that I had before. And I'm very aware of like what we do take in the truck. I mean, hell, our fridge is really small, so we only have enough food in the fridge for about, maybe a week or so before we have to stock up again, right? Can't really freeze too much stuff. You can't, store a bunch of food in there. But I never was a guy who was looking for the new toy, the new thing, the 2.0 iPhone or Android or something like that. And I was more the guy who wanted to make something old work. So, kind of free cycle, if you will. I mean, how this laptop right now that we're running on is something I bought off Craigslist 2 years ago. So shows you how far something used goes. But I try to look at things that can stick around a little longer than usual. That I can at least fix, take apart, take a look at. Spend a little time with. And that kind of goes with the truck too. I mean, that's the truck that my girlfriend and I built, and a lot of the stuff was either salvaged from construction sites or whatnot. There was some stuff we bought from Home Depot that we built and we purchased, but mostly just recycling and recycling stuff that people didn't have a use for anymore, or was just abundantly there, right? There's just stuff always available that like you can kind of get your hands on, and a lot of people are willing to let go of things that were no use to them before, like in an abundance kind of thing, right? I don't know if that answered the question.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I think you remind me of the fact that, like, for as long as I've known you, you've been a person who has always tinkered with things. Like, you've always had an interest in technology, but you've always like managed to find and like salvage these things and breathe new life into something that someone just doesn't have value for anymore, and finding value in it again. And that's a tremendous, for me at least, that's a tremendous kind of creative that's a tremendous creative skill that you've always had, and you've always retained that side of yourself.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course. I mean, I've never been the guy for flashy things. I just wanted something that worked. A year down the road at least, or 2 years down the road. So
yeah.
I mean, we'll have to go through the pictures of the truck, but she doesn't look pretty to most people. But if you know what's in her, she's gorgeous, right?
Because are you maintaining the Instagram account for the truck?
Yeah, we are. We got more stuff along the way. We just finished the propane heating system that we've had to build to brave this EI winter.
What is the Instagram? So somebody, if they wanted to, could maybe check that out.
Yeah, it's kitty bang bang on the road. All one word.
That's awesome.
kitty bang bang on the road.
Kitty bang bang on the road. Nice. That's awesome. Let's come back to this. I want to turn the conversation to a new area. Just kind of your passions and what you're interested in and where you put your energy and your focus. And I've known you for probably a couple decades at least, and I met you through Evan, I think, initially. But it's funny because you and I were friends for like a long time, kind of like always seeing each other at every social gathering and all that. But then a few years ago, we decided, hey, let's get together and let's like really bond. And we did I'll just say it, a magic mushroom journey through the forest, which was like honestly one of the best experiences of my life. And there's a moment, and I'm probably not going to give it justice, but I'm going to say it anyway because it actually was a life-changing moment for me. But we were talking about crypto, and you were explaining to me about this whole thing and why it's important and why you've been involved in it. And again, you've been somebody who's been involved in it like before anybody even really knew about it. And then obviously it became a big thing later. But I remember there's this moment. We're sitting on the edge of a cliff. There's a big waterfall. Right. Yeah, I don't. You remember? Yeah. And
I remember. Yeah.
You took $5 out of your pocket, a $5 bill, like crisp, nice bill, and you're explaining to me about having skin in the game. And you're like, you're not really playing until you actually feel the loss or you feel it. And you took that money and you said, "See this money? It's dead to me." And you threw it off the cliff, and it floated, and it almost went off the cliff like down, but it got caught in a tree. And I remember I was like, I could almost grab it. And I was like, you're like, "It's dead to me." I'm like, "Well, it's not to me." I'm like, "Do you mind if I take it?" You're like, "I don't care at all, but don't give it to me. I don't want it." And I kind of reached for it and I was like, I don't know, because it was kind of like on the edge of the cliff. And you said, "You see that right there? You're willing to kill yourself for $5. And when you said that, I thought about so many things in my life that I've made important that were not important for the risk that like, and I was about to lean off a cliff to try and grab a $5 bill. You know, like my life is worth $5. And it was like literally a profound moment for me. I mean, it sounds super simple, but I literally like look at everything that way. Is this a $5 bill that I'm reaching for? Risking something that is actually really important. So I wanted to share that because that was a big moment for me. But what got you thinking about crypto and money and just kind of that way of looking at it all? Where did that begin?
I mean, for me, I've always had a passion behind electricity. I'm a certified electrician, blah, blah, blah. But as a kid, I also liked computers and the whole 9 yards to it. I just didn't know what I wanted to do in computers. I knew I wanted to be, I wanted to play with electricity. I was kind of building dams out of the mud and this and that, building like a little generator station, you know, in my backyard and this and that. But the computer side, I was always fascinated. As a kid, I just, during like that spring cleaning kind of time, there's always computers lying around. So, you know, took a few home, fixed them, blah, 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 you know, and got them going. But didn't know what I wanted to do. And when I found out about Bitcoin, about the other cryptocurrencies, I realized that I could plug a computer in, you know, and like overclock it and push it to its max and like make $5 a day, you know, as simple as it was right then and there. I'm like, you know what, I'll try it. I'll do it, you know. And I think the first month or two, I was messing around. And I, you know, I accumulated, 5 times 30. That's like, that's $150 that month in cryptocurrencies, you know, and, you know, realizing that, oh, okay, these plugs are getting hot. The computer's getting really hot. I need to like rethink what I'm doing here. And I was, as I was kind of reassessing, like, is this worth it? Bitcoin made a big move, like a 200% move, double and stuff like that. And all of a sudden that $150 I made in that month turned into $1,500. And I'm like, wait, what did I just do? What happened? Like, this doesn't happen like normally. Where is this coming from? So, you know, I was sitting on a lot of cash, and I realized I kind of made it out of thin air. And that really fascinated me. We all do that. We all make make money out of thin air. And that kind of got me on this tangent of okay, so what is money? Like, what is this thing that we seem to chase so much? Like, why do we go after that $5 bill, and nearly risk our lives? That was the proverbial question I've had since I started playing with cryptocurrencies. And, at the end of the day, it's just something that we interact with. That's something that we play with each other, right? Yeah, pretty much. It's just a value transaction. It's just something that we've just passed between each other, right? And I can't seem to let that go. I thought I was done with the whole cryptocurrency thing in 2015, 16, but it came knocking at my door, and I had to go ahead and play with it again. And sure enough, I made a lot more money than I expected, and that's when I took some of that Bitcoin and I bought that truck.
Right. Well,
well.
Yeah, and I just want to mention this because I know we'll move on from it, but in that moment, I really appreciated that from you, because you're my friend, and you're willing to take $5 to teach me a lesson. Like, you were willing to take that out of your pocket, throw it off a cliff, because you were sharing with me, and that was part of the journey. You were going to share with me what this actually was and what it meant. But you were literally, and audience needs to hear this. You were literally just talking about how you got to have skin in the game, and you literally took your money and you threw it off a cliff, not because the value of teaching me the lesson was more important than the $5 bill. And I think that's such a cool thing. And one of the things that taught me as a coach and a mentor was that when I really want to teach a mentee or a student a lesson, I got to have skin in the game. I can't just be like, yeah, you should do this. It's like, if I can show them that I have skin in the game, they're really going to learn that lesson. Because in that moment, when I saw you do that, and you really, you didn't just, it wasn't just bullshit talk. You were literally, here's the reality. And I'll give you the literal physical lesson, and it costs me, but it's worth so much more. You know what I mean? And it was profound, man. I'm really grateful for it.
Well, thank you, man. I kind of forgot about that until now. It's crazy. But yeah, for a lot, I think, yeah, we as a teacher, as a mentor, you should have skin in the game. I mean, I was doing Bitcoin meetups for a while there, from 2017 to before we left Burnaby, and I found it. The turnout always fluctuated, but I found that as I was trying to deliver that message, I don't think it would be ever as profound as we had our time together, but I tried so hard to give that sort of same lesson. And it's amazing how many people walk through that door looking for the next big thing, looking for, I'm going to be rich tomorrow or rich in a month or something like that. I know this thing, so I will make it to the top. I'm I found it also fascinating seeing that kind of attitude come through the door, and being okay, so why are you here? You know what I mean? If you're here for that proverbial $5 bill, then holy crap, you've got a lesson coming on your head, and I can't help you, right?
So what was it during these meetups? What was the thing that you were really trying to instill and share with people who came through the door? Because when you're in something like crypto, which is a form of money. It's a form of it's in the finance area, and so people think it's just it's just about the money, isn't it? Clearly, you have a different perspective on what it was that you were doing and trying to do. Would you share a little bit of that with us?
Yeah, I kind of saw Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies as a kind of way out of what's going on. I mean, we can go down this whole tangent of the big picture, but For most people, everyone was just kind of stuck in this little game, this little loop of, chase the dollar bill, and hopefully I make it to the top. I was trying to let everyone know that you don't have to do that anymore. You can just live. You can just be your own, like own your own. Like you just have to be a bit more disciplined. You just have to open your eyes up a little bit more. And it was hard delivering that message. It was hard trying to get to people. So many folks that went through that door were just had stars in their eyes, and didn't know how to take the blinders off. So there was a few people.
Yeah, sorry to continue.
There was a few people that, I worked with one-on-one even, that I was hoping just to show them, what was on the other side. And a lot of them still took the bait, as they say, right? So there's like one or two people I met that like really got it. And, I still work with them to this day. But yeah, very, very interesting, very, very interesting time just talking to the public, talking to people who just didn't want to wake up.
Yeah, it's. I mean, and I can relate to an extent as well. Like as a teacher, like I often have like actors coming in, and they've got their own stars in their eyes, of making it big, becoming famous and all that sort of thing. And not that I don't wish that kind of fortune and success for these people, but I'm not trying to teach you how to be someone famous. I'm trying to teach something far different than that thing. And it's like trying to take those stars out of their eyes and replace them with a different set of stars, so to speak.
Yeah, the business of being a pop star in 30 days versus being a crazy stock market trader in 30 days, right?
Yeah. Being an artist, being somebody who's engaged and joyful in the things that they do in their life, as opposed to just doing things for some sort of an outcome, as something that's more so an ingrained part of living a greater life.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Totally agree.
What's interesting, Evan, is I think I was a good student of Shane's, because I didn't go in to learn about crypto because I wanted to be famous or be at the top or whatever.
I went to just have some mushrooms with a friend and
exactly. I'm like, let's go on a journey. And you're like, and he was like, are you interested? Are you curious about this at all? I will tell you about it. And I was like, I am. And so he did. And for the first part of our little journey, he really he gave me, he transformed my understanding of it. Like I had all these people around me, Brandon, you got to invest in crypto, blah, blah, blah. And all these people were saying it, but you were the first person that I actually talked to. And I went, I'm starting to understand what the hell this all is. But the thing is for me, I think maybe I was a good student because I didn't have any expectation. I didn't have any like the proverbial $5 bill. I was obviously still attached to $5 bill in that moment, but I wasn't after the $5 bill. So when I got to that $5 bill moment, it was kind of like, oh, this like crypto is not just about money. Crypto is about like life. Crypto is a philosophy. It's a value system. It's a relationship, and it's a relationship to yourself in relation to value. I mean, these were the lessons that I was getting from you and many, many more. But I think it's interesting because take it away from crypto, it's like go into acting. If you go into acting to be a star, that's the proverbial $5 bill. And it's like, you got to let go of that $5 bill. And in a way, that's what frees you up to actually find value in it. It's like, but because I was like not after the $5 bill, I was willing to let it go. I was somewhat willing to detach from it, maybe. I'm guessing. I don't know, but.
Well, you walked into it like without any expectation, right? You were just you're just an open ear, right? And I think I like that thinking. I would say so much of the folks that that came into those meetups were had an expectation that I will figure this out and I will have this nailed. And I would say to that, like, you're more lost than you are found. Like then you'll figure it out if you're thinking that way. Coming to an expectation of things is like, you have no idea what's going to be on the other side. Like, even if you do know, there's a chance that it doesn't go your way at all. You just don't know, and you kind of have to give up to that, right?
Mm-hmm. I was talking with a friend the other day. He's done pretty well with some investing, and we were talking a bit about crypto. And I was actually telling him about this conversation we were about to have, and he's like, "I'm going to listen to that one," because I told him a bit about you, and it was interesting. We were talking about it, and he mentioned, part of the reason why stocks work to some degree is because people, and this sounds terrible to say it this way. I don't know if we said it this way, but I could be kind of filling in the blanks here, but kind of like those suckers, those people who they look at a hockey stick curve going up and they imagine that stick's going to go up forever. The stock is just going to go up and up and up, and they get greedy. And there's a certain point where it's like, you need to sell. And if you sell before you get greedy, you can buy back because it's probably going to come back down. But that greed makes people hang on. And then when they see it high, they go, oh, like, this is going to keep going up, and they buy high, and then it dives. And the people who are paying attention, who are really like not doing it to chase the dollar bill, the $5 bill, proverbial $5 bill, whatever you want to call it, they actually make the most money because they're not after the thing. They're after the value. They're after they have a principle, they're following, and it's not a guaranteed by anything, but I'm starting to understand that, like, playing stocks or working with money or going to an acting class or pursuing a career in the arts is a lot like that. If you're chasing the $5 bill, like the Oscar or that thing, that's the very reason why you'll never get it. But if you can kind of like live by that, like, for example, Evan teaches be in the moment, like really be truly present. If you can like honor that value, you might find yourself there. But it's not because you had to be there. It's because you lived a principle, you lived a value. That's kind of, I don't know. I don't want to fill in the blanks for what you think, but these are some of the things that I kind of walked away and how I interpret them. So I'm only sharing my perception, but these things have really, made me walk away with those perceptions.
But I mean, I think, you put in less words, but you're absolutely right. There are folks who have blinders on, who don't want to like take the precautions, take the time to learn what's in front of them, and we've, like, in the stock market and the cryptocurrencies, we call it FOMO, fear of missing out, and and you got to think about that first word, fear, right? You also brought up another fantastic word, greed. That's another big one that cryptocurrencies and stock markets like to go after, right? Those two emotions back and forth, and you've got a recipe for, bankruptcy, putting your, as we say, like betting the farm. That's like the worst thing you do. Like, and if you're betting the farm for that $5, you got something else coming to it, right?
Well, can I say one thing? I don't want to stop your thought, but maybe you win on the betting the farm on that $5, but how many times is that $5 bill going to pay out? Like, sometimes you're going to fall off that cliff, and it only takes once to just destroy everything if you keep betting the farm, because people who bet the farm once, I mean, like, they're probably going to bet it again,
Oh, yes, of course. We call that leverage.
Yeah.
Call that leverage betting, margin
and
betting.
False confidence.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a recipe for disaster too. If you're successful in the very beginning, like you kind of have to unlearn that success, because that's a one-off. That's not natural, right? You have to be humble to the experience of like, oh, okay, I just won. I have that. I've achieved that proverbial $5. Now, how did I get there? I think so much of my like very beginning of like Bitcoin and cryptocurrency stuff was that, oh, I got the $5. Like, wait, how did I do that? Where did that come from? Like, yeah, I did that. Like, how do I do that again? And is that even tangible? Is that realistic to do again? You kind of have to be humble in that experience,
right? Like not thinking that you got it all figured out.
Yeah, exactly.
Like just because you won. Like I went to I don't gamble much, very rarely. I do it occasionally just for fun. But like I went to the horse track races, right? And I went with my friend. He used to work it there, right? And he gambles a fair amount. But I remember I went to the horse track and he was teaching me about my options. Like, because you can bet on the winning horse, but you could bet on the top 3 horses in their placement. You can do a whole bunch of fancy things. And I started making some bets and I started to I looked at everything and I was like, I think I know how this is going to go. And it turned out I was right. And I won really big, like really big. And everybody there at the big party was like, wow. And I remember after this happened, I said to my friend, I think I got this figured out. He said, that is a problem. That's where you get into trouble. And I knew in that moment, I'm like, holy shit, you're right. Because I literally was going to walk away going, I got this figured out. I know how to win the game. It's like, nah, man. You looked into it and you probably made some smart choices in theory, but you got lucky at the end of the day. And really, I mean, it's the truth. Because the next time I went to the track, I tried the same system. I didn't risk the farm, but I was like, yeah, he's right. And I tested his theory. I'm like, you're right. I don't know. And that is the gambler. You got to keep that in mind.
Yeah, totally good. That's a fun experience.
Yeah. This is after our talk, though. By the way, this is after our.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So just so you know, you contributed to helping me not lose the farm.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad. I'm so glad. Holy crap! That's amazing.
It's funny how it all comes around, but you got to pay attention to these life lessons, and I just, it's interesting because we're talking about crypto and money, but this relates to art. Like I'm seeing so many parallels. I mean, maybe we're not commenting on it directly, but just the artist journey, it just seems so parallel to me.
I mean, yeah, I would say you'd have to stumble a few times, in artistry, in one way, shape, or form. You kind of really have to go out there, go and try, but but depending on if you fail or succeed, that shouldn't sway your passion about what you want to do, right?
Well, I mean, it can be any of those things can be a trap. I mean, this is something that I found to be like a fascinating sort of teaching that you find in a lot of Eastern philosophies, which is, if someone praises you or someone criticizes you, that your reaction to each should be the same. That you shouldn't take too much stock in praise or criticism, because either or is like a recipe for disaster one way or another. It removes your ability to simply just place your focus on whatever the thing is that you're doing, for you to even necessarily be able to recognize the thing that you actually want to do. Because then suddenly it becomes, whatever you're doing becomes about, either getting that praise again or avoiding that criticism again.
Right.
And, when you're in that space, you can never give yourself fully to what you're doing.
It's yin yang, it's live by their praise, die by their criticism. If you live by their praise, you will die by their criticism. But if you don't let either affect you, you're actually free of both.
Yeah.
And it's like kind of a lot of what Shane imparted upon me was really the freedom of money. You know, living for money, you live for it or you die by it. You know, it's the same as praise and criticism. It's like, it's so like, I mean, this is probably a profound wisdom that's carried on way, way beyond our lifetimes, but, you know, and many before, but like these things come back and get reflected in everything we're doing, you know, over and over again. And you can use money or art or whatever.
Well, I mean, I was thinking about it also in the context of success and failure.
Sure.
You know, it's just like, don't put too much stock in your success and don't put too much stock in your failure either. You know, like just kind of being unaffected by either of them, because those can be like either of them can be extremely misleading. I mean, that was kind of what I was hearing on what as the way the conversation was going, is that it's like, yeah, like, you know, your success can throw you straight towards ruin, you know, and likewise with your failure can throw you straight towards ruin, but failure can also send you straight towards success as well. You know, like it's a funny thing.
I remember coming across a few years ago, this philosopher called, what's his name? Hegel.
Hegel, yeah.
He was known for Hegel. He talked about, and his thing was the Hegelian dialect. He was an asshole in lectures and stuff like that, because his idea of philosophy was like, you don't know the one end of the spectrum without knowing the other. You don't know the one extreme to the other. So hot, cold. You don't know hot unless you know cold. You don't know cold unless you know hot. So like in a sense, you don't know success unless you know defeat. You don't know defeat unless you know success, right? So I was always fascinated with this line of thinking, because we all stumble, we all make mistakes, we all lose our way, and we all find ourselves, you know, in the shadow and the light when we should perform, right? But it's very much this dance of trying to get back into the middle. He was a really interesting guy, but yeah,
it's beautiful. It's all this dance about trying to get back to the middle. It that is like Way of the Artist. That's like the whole thing that we talk about. Like it's this dance about trying to get back to center all the time. You're on your path, you're going through life, and you get distracted. You know, you get pulled off course by this proverbial $5 bill, or this success or the praise, and that pulls you off course, because then you get pulled over to the failure and the criticism and the loss and the devastations too. And center is like where you can have perspective on both.
Yeah, the human experience is very fascinating when you're able to step back.
Yeah, no kidding. It's hard when you're in it though. It's hard when you're in your shit. And yeah. It's super hard. I mean, you know, that's something like, I think our friend circle, we always talk about with each other. Like we have a good friend group and we can talk about our shit with each other. And I think one of the great things about all of us is we help each other have perspective when we're in our shit. But we all have enough compassion to understand that when we are in our shit, it's just hard. Like you can have all the perspective in the world, but when you're in it, you're like, oh, this sucks. I know this is probably okay, and I'm going to get through this, and I'm learning something, but it sucks and I don't like it.
Oh man, like Vanessa always criticizes me over like when I'm fixing something or doing something in the truck. It's just, I'm swearing like a sailor just to get through it, because I'm like, all right, I didn't want to do this. I didn't want this to happen. Like I was pissed off when we had to redo the bed and the mold. And I was like, that was the third time we did that bed again. That was the third time. And I was just like, oh God, not this again. Yeah, and it sucked, you know, and all she could do was just be there and, you know, be a lending, like just be a supporter, be like cheerleader, you know, and that's all I was very appreciative in that moment, where she was just like, just cheering me on, making sure everything's okay, making sure that the coffee was made in the morning while I could just go and swear some more in the truck. But yeah, in the shed. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, let's go back to your journey, if you don't mind. That was a great little detour. But let's come center back to where we started. You guys have been on this journey, and now you're presumably in the middle or whatever. I don't know, maybe. You're not at the end.
Well, we're always in the middle, Brandon.
Yeah, we're always in the middle. So now you're in the middle. Like, I don't even know the question, but what have you learned thus far from the beginning to the middle? Like, what brings you back to center?
What we learned so far is, people are awesome. People are amazing. And we're probably quite astonished with our success and how we made it across Canada, and since May, June, right? So we're amazed of how far we've come, and it's been very astounding how it's felt like a year, maybe it's felt like two years, something like that. The amount of experiences we've had on the road. We've only been on the road for 6 months, right? And we feel like we've lived a good long journey, and we're excited to do more, but settling down with some really close friends on the east coast of Canada is really humbling. It was really something else. We learned Vanessa had a close friend in California, and they lost their home in that California fire. I can't remember where exactly, but they lost their farm. Go back to that word again, but her friend was very, very humbled, very, very astonished about all the support that she got, and she realized that she had to let go. She had to be not so independent, not so alone. And we realized as we were going to PEI, trying to avoid all this COVID stuff from Ontario, going through Quebec, that we had to have someone vouch for us, someone sponsor us in PEI, say that we were going to live permanently for a year. Our friends had to be our rentor or, landlord, which was fine. I didn't care, but it was amazing. When we asked for that help, that support, it came at an instant. We were self-conscious about asking for that support, asking, for help. Hey, we want to come and join you. We've got all this paperwork. We had to do a 14-day quarantine here, in the truck. And as we crossed the PEI, it's there's a bridge that goes from New Brunswick to PEI. It's a 10 to 15 minute bridge. It's gigantic. It's a lot of fun to drive. But on the other side of the bridge was the folks doing the whole COVID quarantine stuff. And they're like, all right, so your sponsor's there. No stopping at drive-throughs, no restaurants, no nothing. Go straight there, and make sure you rely on your sponsors. And as I realized that, I'm like, yeah, our sponsors, our friends, are awesome. We're very blessed and very humbled to be around those folks. And we realized that we had to ask for help. We had to be, we had to be vulnerable to ask for help. And, it was awesome. Right?
Yeah, that's incredible, man. There's a line in that show, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which is actually, people sometimes think of it as a silly comedy, and it's actually not. It's actually a very, very smart and profound thing, especially at the time it was coming out, because it talked about Black culture, and it really brought a lot of things to light, but in a comical way. But it had many deep moments. But there's a moment where Will's uncle says to him, it's okay that people open doors for you, because people open doors for me. It's okay that people open doors for you, and that's a part of life. And it's something that I think we all have to learn, that that we don't have to do all this alone. That even if we do feel alone on our journey, even if we do feel alone in our fight, that there are people that are around that can help us and will help us. And sometimes something I'm learning is want to help you, but they need you to ask them for it, because that's part of the exchange.
Oh yeah, so many times. I think so many of our arguments in the truck has been like both of us just not asking for help from one another. I'd say, we were just expecting the help, but like, hey, let's talk. Let's just have a conversation. Right? And this experience with the truck has been very, very much like that. We stayed longer than we wanted to in Ottawa, and we asked for help from Vanessa's friends, basically. And how do I put this? It's not fun pooping in your own, in your own area, right? You kind of that whole like washroom business in a truck is very unpleasant, and you got to deal with it. It's got to be done. You got to poop, right? That's it. That's happened. But and also at the time too, we didn't have a shower in the truck, so we were relying on friends and campsites at times to have a shower to bathe. So they were really there for us. They're like, anytime you want to come on up. Just knock on the door, let us know, or give us a call for being weird. But we needed a shit shower, shade. Come on up. Right. And it was Ottawa where we built we built our shower in preparation for our quarantine for PEI, because we figured that we would have to do 14 days. We wanted to do the thing to make sure our friends and family were safe and whatnot. So we were held up in Ottawa longer than we expected, but we had some good people and we asked for help, and kind of knew who our friends were, and we were just very happy and humbled that our friends were there for us.
That's a great part of the journey, right? Is like, and we don't like to talk about this in society and culture, but you got to poop, you got to clean yourself, you got to, the dirty part of life, right? And it's like, but it's such a vulnerable thing. I mean, just the image of being on a toilet and even someone hearing you or seeing you, it's such a vulnerable place to be in our culture. And in some ways, that's part of the journey of life, is that sometimes you're in that vulnerable place and you need to be able to be that takes a lot of vulnerability to be like, hey, I need help here. It's not always about I need help to like achieve this great thing. Sometimes it's like I need help to do my basic life, and everybody needs this. It doesn't make you different, like everybody in their own way. And, I think there's a lot of like, Evan and I talked about this on the last podcast, or at least like I went on a rant about it, but it's like, you could live that safe life and keep everything secure and control everything and keep it really small. But you, Shane, you're doing the opposite of that. You're like saying, I'm going to go out, I'm going to push myself out of my comfort zone. And I think you find the rewards out there, and you're doing it your way. And I'm not saying that's the only way to do it, but you're doing it your way and you're experiencing what it takes to actually put yourself out.
I think like building this truck trailer thing, kickity bang bang. There were some points where I'm like, God damn it, what am I doing? Like, why am I putting myself through this stress, through all of this? Like, I'm the only person who knows what I'm doing here. I'm the only one who knows a way around a screwdriver, and the truck breaks down, I'm fixing it. No one else is fixing it but me. And I realized something there. Like, we're not tied to a manufacturer. We're not tied to a warranty. We're not tied to like, we don't have a Maytag like the trailer, right? You can't find someone to warranty this because no one knows what the hell's going on except for us, for Vanessa and I. And I realized in that moment, like, you know what? I like this. I like owning my shit. I like being on this journey of what is mine. Like, and I came across this idea, like, great, with great freedom, like, comes great responsibility, right? Like, we're free. We're not tied to an apartment or a landlord or a warranty or a manufacturer, but we're responsible. We're responsible as fuck here because, anything breaks down, that's on us. We should get BCAA. I mean, that was one thing we totally forgot to do. And we broke down in, not quite there was a park in Ontario, not Quetico Park, but one of the parks, like Starter went. And I realized we didn't have BCAA, and the park rangers were really cool about it. I was trying to troubleshoot it. We couldn't move the truck for a day, and usually most people get towed. But we found a way to talk, and we found a way and talked to someone at a gift shop, like a 5-minute walk away, to see if someone could deliver a starter, a part for us, and we fixed it. We were able to spend a day in the park. We didn't get to our spot, but we were able to. That evening, we went to the spot and had a campfire and everything else. But we fixed the truck on the spot without having me towed, without having to go to the mechanic shop, and we were well on our way to Ottawa. So that was quite the challenge, but it's ours. It's our challenge. It's our journey, right? So, like, you got to take what's yours and you got to be responsible for it, right?
Yeah. It's like a guy who I love listening to is like, with any sort of endeavor that you choose for yourself, the path that you choose to walk, he's like, there's going to be challenges that come up. And he says the thing to remind yourself when those things happen is, and this is what comes with it. Like this, it comes with this. Like it's not against it. It's what comes with it. choose your path. Like which one do you want to take, and what are the things that you want it to come with?
Yeah. Oh, and make a list and write it down. Actually, that might help a lot too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've past the 1 hour mark, and typically this is when we talk about what we're drinking, and then we'll launch into our final questions here. I'll kick things off as far as the drinks go. I am drinking the Ghost Ship Hazy IPA from Lighthouse Brewing, and it's been really tasty. I got it, like the can looks great. I don't have the can with me, but it's like this terrific image on the cover of it, of like this pirate ship and the skull and stuff like that. I love when they just throw great art in with the beer. So it's really good.
Nice.
That's awesome. Well, I guess I'll go next, man. I went a little bit in a different way today. I went all the way to Germany. I think it says Polaner. I don't know. Polaner? I guess that's what it's called, but it's an Oktoberfest beer. And Munich Oktoberfest. I don't know. It's tasty, man. I'm basically done. So if that is a testament to how good this was, there you go. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, the Germans know their way around a beer or two.
There's the can if anyone can see it. If you're watching.
Nice.
All right.
Are you having a drink there, Shane?
Yeah, I am. So PI's selection of beer is a little bit dry. And we found that out before we came. So we stocked up on a few beers in Ontario, like a full flat. These guys are Flying Monkeys. They are, I don't know where they are from. Like they're from Ontario. But this is a triple IPA, and we came across this and like fell in love. It comes in at 10.2%. So I sip this. I don't down this. This is kind of
that's a spicy meatball right there, my friend.
But I'll read the description because the description's a lot of fun. Exploring the realms of deep, dank space with the rules of threes in its DNA. Sparkle Puff launches with a payload of smashed summer peaches for cushions of fierce, malty fluff behind a force field of hops. 3 times dry hopped, triple the hop flavor, thrice the aroma. The 10.2% of this unfiltered adventure glimmers with the epic glory of Sparkle Puff, Galaxy Starfighter, defender of the universe.
That's fun.
That's fantastic. Love it. And it's been good?
Oh, man. Yeah, we had to smuggle this in. You can't see the laser cat kitty there. Where is he? Can you see him? Oh, there.
Sort of, yeah. Oh, yeah. Nice.
Oh, yeah, I see it. Well, hey,
yeah.
we have some questions. We're gonna shoot off some questions for you, and then at the end of this, we'll decide if we want to wrap anything up and say any last thoughts. But let's ask you these questions, man, because everybody who comes on gets them, and I'm excited to actually hear what you got to say about these things.
Let's do it.
All right, Evan, you can start it off, I think.
All right, I'll start it off. What is the most important book you've ever read?
Jeez, when's the last time I read a book? Damn it. I don't know. It's been a long time since I picked up a book, to tell you the truth.
Well, is there a book that just like when I asked you the question, like that just kind of popped into your head? You don't have to have a good reason for it. It's just
all right. Okay. Oh, yeah. Weirdly enough, the Cisco networking books. I came across them when I was incarcerated. Some other story. We won't talk about that. But that's when I realized, like, this crazy ass thick thing. I actually love computers. All right. Fine. All right. Done. I'll read this thing.
Cool.
That's great.
All right. What film has had the greatest impact on you?
Would I say that would be a weirdly enough to say The Matrix, the whole trilogies?
No,
not at all.
Yeah, I really shine to those. Yeah.
I mean, I still watch, especially the first one. You know, like that first one, I still watched every now and then, and I'm just like, this movie's still fucking brilliant. Like, it was so well done. So I love it. All right, next, this might be a challenging song, Shane, because we didn't even really get into music in our conversation, but here we go. What is a song that takes you somewhere?
There's a few songs from The Weeknd, but I'm trying to remember the one that I like. It could be The Falls. It could be... I can't remember. I remember going through a part of my life where I just took a shine to The Weeknd's albums, and there's House of Balloons. That's what it was. House of Balloons. The Weeknd, House of Balloons.
Cool. I don't think I've ever heard it, and I'm definitely going to have to go and check that out as soon as we're done.
Yeah. Very interesting album. Very interesting tune. Yeah.
All right. Where do you think creativity comes from?
Either from your heart or from your loins. You just kind of find that spot in the middle, I guess.
Nice.
That might be one of my favorite answers to that question. Next question. How or where do you find inspiration?
How? Um, I usually like to break something. I proverbially or physically. I kind of break something to find inspiration, I guess. Weirdly
Interesting.
enough. Yeah.
That's kind of like that's very like kind of the whole Fight Club philosophy. In some ways, you break it so that you can rebuild it.
Yeah. And, I mean, at the end of the day, we're not made of glass, so, have fun.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right. What's one thing you would tell your childhood self?
Yeah, don't be afraid, don't be scared, and go have some fun. I mean, just cause a ruckus, like that. I mean, kick the hornet's nest, but make sure you run. Don't watch. Just kick the hornet's nest and run.
All right, and the last question. What would your future self tell you now?
I don't know. Just keep being a kid, I guess. I hate growing up. I don't think even my future self would be like, you know what? I'm still going to be 14, 12, 21. Screw it. Just keep being a kid, really. Yeah. No. It feels a little cheesy, but I guess that's kind of where I've always been. Just, and I'm always curious. I've always been just out there, like, let it all come to you. If not, and go seek it, go find it. Right. Very, very childlike. So why not keep going that route? Yeah.
All right.
That's great, man. Yeah, that's all the questions that we have for you.
Awesome. Cool.
Okay, here's the thing. As we tie this up, we don't always do this, but sometimes I feel like we should, and I want to do it today. But Evan, I want to hear your like what you kind of took from this conversation. What was something that stood out for you that maybe people could walk away with?
Oh,
or your walk away with?
I mean, there were so many things that we got into in this conversation, and they haven't quite all sort of amalgamated for me just yet. So I might pass the buck here for a moment, and maybe come back around to me and I just need a few moments to let it kind of stew.
Well, I guess I'll share mine. The thing that I'm going to really walk away with, and Shane, I think it's kind of reinforced and reminded me and also reignited me to really look at the process of things, to not get so focused on the result or the expectation or what I think it should be or how I think it should look. I think what, that proverbial $5 bill moment kind of transcends almost everything we ever talk about now. But it's kind of like, I think what I'm realizing through this conversation with you is how much it's so important to like be in this moment, but not that this moment has to be anything other than what it is. And that's all part of the process of finding my way through, because if I make this moment have to be something other than what it is, that's the proverbial $5 bill. That's the thing I'm dying for. And it's like, but I'm living right now. I don't have to die for that moment that I think it should be. I could actually just be here now. And I think about that moment of us on the edge of that cliff. It's a very important moment. But there was another moment on that journey, and it's out of context to some degree, but I'll share it anyway. There was a moment where we were walking down that creek bed, and it looked kind of like, it was so beautiful. It looked like we were in the middle of Jurassic Park, because just the way it looked. And I remember we were sitting on these rocks, and I shared with you about some of the hardest things that I went through in my life. And I just said about how I felt, and you put your arm around me, and I don't even remember what you said, but it was kind of like, that's what got you here now. And I felt like such love and appreciation and gratitude to be in that moment with you, in spite of going through such whatever. And the past didn't matter and the future didn't matter. And that moment was like everything in that moment. And so many moments in life are like that and can be that. So in a roundabout way, I think what you really helped me realize is that I'm chasing a proverbial future. I'm chasing a proverbial expectation. And I'm just going to let go of that. I'm going to let go and not reach over that cliff and die for that. I'm just going to be here now. And yeah, I don't know, man. This thing it's definitely going to percolate for me for a while, but this has been a good little chat that way.
Yeah, man. No, I thank you for having me on, because I kind of forgot about that moment. Funny enough, I forgot about that little mushroom walk. I'm like, and I forgot how much I took from that too. So yeah, thanks for having me on for that, for sure, man. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the show. If you got something out of this, if you feel it improved your life or your journey in any way, please take a moment to subscribe, leave a review, or share the episode.
You can also support us on Patreon, where we have tons of great bonuses. You are the ones that make the show possible and help us to thrive. Thank you for joining us.